Hi, my name's Mark Grace. I'm the Chief Mission and Ministry Officer for Baylor Scott and White Health. Melissa and I worked together for quite a long while she was at the Baylor Institute for Rehabilitation and was CEC in our system program. We actually met each other at Royal Lane Baptist Church, where we were co-Sunday school teachers even years before that. I've always known Melissa as an Israelite in whom there is no guile, someone who on occasion does not suffer fools lightly, but who is also incredibly devoted to her work, to her students, to the craft of pastoral education. My only piece of advice for you, Melissa, is you do you, and we'll all be all right. Thank you for taking on this role, and God bless you.
Melissa Walker-Luckett. Wow, I'm so delighted to get to celebrate you and to honor you as our new board chair. Little did we know 20 plus years ago when we first met that here we would be, that I would be celebrating you in the midst of a pandemic on video. I so dearly wish we were in person and that we could be celebrating this together and I could give you a big hug. But in the meantime, one of the things I remember being impressed with about you when I first came to Baylor and you were finishing your process and I was just new there was your very open and generous welcome to me and how that sense of hospitality is just very core to who you are. I also came to know that you had a very deep pastoral identity and that a big part of that is your fierce advocacy for those who are underrepresented and for the voiceless, and I have learned much from you in that. And I also just was really impressed with how much you not only know how to be with people in pain and suffering, but you also have a real generosity of sharing joy with folks, and I will always cherish how much you celebrated my pregnancy and the birth of my son, who is now a high school graduate. Unbelievable. But most of all, I would probably say if there's one word that I would use to describe you, it is passionate. And you are passionate about the loves of your life, about Jamie and your family. You're passionate about your call to ministry as an educator and as a healer in this world. And you are passionate about the God who calls you to that work. You are passionate about your students, your patients, families, colleagues, and the staff you work with, and you are passionate about CPE. Many, many blessings on your leadership in this role. I hope you will always remember that you bringing your authentic, grounded, gifted, and passionate self to us is a gift. And I also want to leave you with just a few words from John O'Donohue, knowing that, gosh, I don't know how much stormier it can get than being chair of the board during a pandemic, but I do know that storms come with this work that you are doing, and so I always hope that you can remember these words from John O'Donohue. Let there be an opening into the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you find the peace you did not think possible and see what shimmers within the storm. Amen and amen, and blessings on you, Melissa, and I celebrate you today. Take care.
Hi, I'm Carol Summers Clark.
And I'm Ron Summers Clark. And both Carol and I have known Melissa for probably 35 years at least.
I've known her for 36. I think she was a baby when I first met her.
The professional encounter that I had with Melissa was when she decided to do a residency at Children's Medical Center Dallas. And that was in the second year that we had a residency program there. I think it was in 1986. And our program had connections with Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, as well as Children's Medical Center in Dallas. Melissa was the second resident assigned as the primary chaplain at Texas Scottish Rite, as well as doing clinical assignments at Children's.
And I met Melissa, according to Ron's memory, basically a year before, because I did her screening interview. I was in a parish-based CPE program, and Melissa found me and asked me to do a screening interview for her, and she went to Arkansas.
Yeah, she was from Arkansas and did a unit with Sharon Hughes Trimper. And from that, she came to the residency at Children's. And it's really exciting, I think, I can say for both of us, to have a former student who is going on to become the president of ACPE, our chair of ACPE, I stand corrected.
And we both had Melissa in a residency. Ron had her for her first year of residency.
Right.
And then I had her for a second year residency, where one of the more notable things during that residency, other than completing all her requirements, was that she met her husband there at Methodist Health System in Dallas.
Right. And we both ended up with more clinical pastoral education training opportunities with Melissa when she was a staff chaplain at Baylor, now Baylor Scott and White, I think, and decided to do supervisory education. And the Dallas-Fort Worth area had a group training effort, and we both sat in on Melissa's supervisory education training program and participated with her in that.
And if I was going to choose a word to describe Melissa through the years that I've known her and life experiences, it would be, I think, commitment. Commitment would be what I would use to describe Melissa. Commitment and a real integrity.
Well, I would completely agree with both of those words. I would also add that I think Melissa perseveres. That would be a word that I would use. She has done a lot of change in her life and has persevered. She's back at Children's Medical Center Dallas, where she, I believe, is the title is Manager of Clinical Pastoral Education, or Director of Clinical Pastoral Education.
Should be.
I'm not sure which, anyway.
Well, anyway, we love Melissa. We respect her a great deal, and we think it's really fortunate for ACPE that she's taken on this challenge. And my word of advice to her is have fun and don't take things too seriously. And I know she's heard me tell her that before.
And if it's possible to have fun in this job, which I think it probably can be possible, I would ditto what Carol said, is don't be too serious, have a lot of fun. You have a lot of integrity. We both love you and wish the very, very best for you and ACPE during this strange time in everybody's lives. Thank you.
Congratulations on being installed as the new board chair of ACPE. One of the most memorable moments of our relationship was getting to know your mother, Mary Lee Van Zandt Walker, or Mary. Mary, in her own way, fought against social injustices, gender inequality, and women being pigeonholed into a certain role. She was prohibited from attending seminary and looked down upon for interacting with people from other races in Little Rock, Arkansas. However, she found her voice by being a person who cared for others and operated out of a strong sense of integrity and compassion. We had multiple discussions during your supervisory training as a black male from North Carolina and white female from Arkansas about cultural and gender myths. Mary influenced our discussions by not focusing on our differences, but exploring what brought us together and made us one as human beings. These were difficult and scary conversations for both of us, but we emerged as stronger individuals and created a community of love and respect for one another. According to our faith tradition, Mary is now in a place called heaven, watching over you. Remember that the resilience, passion, ability to endure opposition, and visionary leadership to serve ACPE was embedded in you by your mother and others. Her spirit will always be with you to provide comfort and guidance. I am so proud of you and wish you all the best. Congratulations.
Hi there, this is Amy Green. I'm immediate past board chair of ACPE, and I'm here to greet you today, Melissa, and congratulate you on officially becoming board chair, even though you've been hard at work for 6 months. One of the questions that was asked was, what's one word that I would use for you? And I would have to say steadfast. And then the next is, what would my advice be? So I'm really bummed that we can't do the big handoff thing with the Anton Boysen's cane and the women's magic wand, especially since I think this is the first time a woman would be handing it over to a woman, or a Baptist would be handing it over to a Baptist, or an Alliance of Baptists would be handing it over to an Alliance of Baptists. So there's a lot of things I'm kind of bummed about, and that we're not doing that in Cleveland. But I'm really excited that you're at the helm of us. I am very, very confident in all your leadership skills. I really don't have any advice, because I think you're better at this than I was, in terms of being really calm and level-headed and able to just keep us moving forward in a great direction. So just keep being you. And if you need a tiger in your corner, call me up. Got your back, girlfriend. Congratulations.
Today, we install ACPE certified educator Melissa Walker-Luckett as the 28th board chair of ACPE. She follows a distinguished line of leaders dating back to ACPE's founding in 1967. Melissa was born in Pocahontas, Arkansas, in the far northeast of the state, the descendant of farmers and sharecroppers. A preacher's daughter, she had an idyllic rural childhood, riding bikes, climbing trees, playing piano in the church basement, watching her elders can, ferment, and pickle fresh veggies from the garden, and loving basketball, the foothills of the Ozarks, and the Clearwater Lakes of North Arkansas. Melissa followed in her father's footsteps, both graduating from Ouachita Baptist University in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and Southwest Baptist Theology Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. She began an undergrad as an accounting major, but was called to the ministry by her junior year. In seminary, Melissa started as a religious education student, but soon found her Bible, theology, and church history classes more engaging. After completing her Master of Divinity, Melissa enrolled in her first unit of CPE at Arkansas Children's Hospital in Little Rock with Reverend Sharon Hughes Tremper. That life-changing moment led to a CPE residency at Children's Medical Center Dallas with Reverend Ron Summers Clark and Reverend Sharon Ingbretson. After 3 years of discerning her next steps, Melissa applied for a second-year residency at Methodist Medical Center Dallas with Reverend Carol Summers Clark and Reverend Logan Jones. Over the next 17 years, Melissa served as a healthcare and hospice chaplain throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. While mentoring students at Baylor Scott and White Rehabilitation Institute, Melissa's desire to become an ACPE certified educator was rekindled. She completed her supervisory education under the tutelage of Reverend Mark Grace, Reverend Leanne Rathbun, and Chaplain Carlos Bell. After earning her certification and serving another 12 years at Baylor, Melissa worked at the VA North Texas Healthcare for 2.5 years before returning home to Children's Medical Center Dallas for the last 10 years. Melissa has served ACPE on the then regional level in accreditation, chaired the former Southwest Region Accreditation Committee, on the Accreditation Commission, as a National Site Team Chair, and on the Board of Representatives, where she helped shepherd the association into its current governance structure. In 1991, Melissa married a handsome emergency department charge nurse with bright blue eyes and 2 lovely young daughters from his previous marriage. Today, as a grandmother of 5, Melissa believes it's vital for ACPE to train spiritual care educators and providers for the next generation. She hopes to lead a nimble, visionary, inclusive, and enthusiastic ACP into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating Melissa Walker-Luckett as the 28th Board Chair of ACPE.
Greetings to you all. First, I'd like to say I offer my deepest condolences to those in our association who have lost loved ones to the coronavirus. For those who suffer work fatigue or PTSD after harrowing experiences and indeterminable hours at the bedside of the sick and dying, I pray rest and peace for your minds and bodies. Others may be experiencing loss of income as spouses or partners' employment has been impacted. I recognize that many of us are bearing losses in our programs and centers. And for the families of those who have died needlessly at the hands of hate and fear, I grieve. For us all, I pray and hope that we will have the fortitude and stamina to support one another, to shore up our colleagues and friends so that we may all persevere. When I graduated from seminary, I didn't know what I would do. Growing up Southern Baptist, my options were very limited as a woman. A professor my final semester of seminary talked about CPE as a possibility for the young pastors in the class when they needed a sabbatical from the pulpit. I did some exploring and found a new program in Little Rock where Sharon Hughes Tremper had a unit beginning. Walking into that hospital and into CPE was like putting on a custom-made jacket. I had no idea something could feel so challenging and so good. ACPE was a place for me, a place where my ministry was challenged, honed, and encouraged. It became a home for me. And here I stand, 36 years later, still being challenged and encouraged and enthusiastic about this learning. So much has changed in the last 7 to 10 months. I don't know about you, but once the pandemic was soundly underway, I began to wonder if this day would ever come. And here we are. People say, things will never be the same. Yes, and things are never the same, ever. We may think of the past as better than today or worse than today, but better or worse, neither is the same as today. So the question becomes, what must we do today for tomorrow to be better? And yet one person's better might be my worse, or vice versa. I wonder if we might reframe from comparison thinking to hopeful or aspirational thinking. I know that some, perhaps many of us, are tired of watching the rising numbers of the ill in our hospitals. I imagine that many are worried about the rising number of mental health concerns among our communities. The cost of living and health concerns for families when providers are not able to work taxes our nonprofit community programs. And yet, we persist. Albert Einstein is quoted as having said, "Problems cannot be solved at the same level of consciousness that created them." Are we at a place in time that we can think beyond our current level of consciousness? Can we utilize the uncertainty of today to spur us on to think of bolder and more creative ways to prepare the women and men who will come after us? Will we learn from and alongside them to raise the consciousness of our institutions of learning and worship? Will we be imaginative and willing to risk failing in order to move ahead to meet the world? I wonder if we could move to considering our programs by asking ourselves, is my program just? How can our program be truly helpful to these students in their world? What might I be more encouraging and foster hope? What's the best way to mentor the unique student in front of me right now? Where does kindness and challenge merge and blend to become deeply helpful in learning? Just, helpful, encouraging, hopeful, challenging, kind. These words and the embodiment of them can walk hand in hand in the curriculum of a CPE program. Intellectual rigor can be encouraging and challenging at the same time. The very concept of clinical pastoral education was created by a man thinking outside the box. There are visionaries among us. They sit on our boards, our committees, commissions, and task forces. They sit virtually beside you in your community or communities of practice. If you are a visionary, if you have ideas, if you know of innovative people who are thinking outside the box above our current level of consciousness, please speak out. Bring your ideas, your innovation, your forward thinking to leadership and challenge us, encourage us, and let your creativity, hopefulness, and excitement infect us all. We need not let our current circumstances cause us to falter. We are strong, and we can be proud of who we are and what we are all moving toward and through in these times. I am blessed and challenged by you all, and I know we have what is needed to face our future with hope and innovation. I believe in us, and I believe in what we have to offer. I am honored to serve the ACPE.